Hello and welcome to our informational video on ASPD.
I'm Ava.
I'm Giovanna.
I'm Nick.
And today we're going to talk about antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD for short, and how it fits into the DSM-5, which is the guide mental health pros use to classify mental disorders.
We're going to be breaking down what the DSM-5 is, what personality disorders are, how they're grouped together, and then we're going to dive into ASPD, what it is, who it affects, and how it shows up, and also how it's treated.
The DSM-5 is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition.
It's basically the playbook that psychologists and psychiatrists use to figure out what mental health conditions someone might have, and it lists all the disorders, what symptoms to look for, and how to diagnose them consistently. And it also helps ensure that everyone's on the same page when it comes to diagnosing and treating mental health issues.
So what's a personality disorder? A personality disorder is when someone's way of thinking, feeling, and behaving becomes really rigid and doesn't match what's expected in their culture. And these patterns usually kick in during the teen years or early adulthood, and they can really mess with a person's relationships, work, and daily life.
The tricky thing is a lot of people with personality disorders don't even realize that behavior is a problem because it feels normal to them. But for others, it can come as unpredictable or even harmful behaviors.
Clusters of personality disorders. In the DSM-5, personality disorders are divided into 3 clusters based on similar traits.
Cluster A is the odd or eccentric group, which includes paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal personality disorders.
Cluster B is the dramatic, emotional, or erratic group, which is where antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD, lives along with borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic personality disorders.
Cluster C, the anxious or fearful group, which includes avoidant, dependent, and obsessive-compulsive personality disorders.
What is antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD? Now, for ASPD specifically, it's part of Cluster B, and people with this disorder tend to repeatedly disregard and violate the rights of others.
They might lie, manipulate, or exploit people without feeling bad about it, and it's not just a one-time thing, it's a long-term pattern that usually starts in childhood or adolescence, and it shows up as a conduct disorder, like things like aggression or breaking rules, before it develops into full-blown ASPD in adulthood.
Why is ASPD in Cluster B? ASPD fits into Cluster B because it's all about the dramatic, impulsive, and emotionally erratic behavior. People with ASPD tend to act out of self-interest without thinking through the consequences.
They are very good at looking charming, but it's all an act or a mask, which is used to manipulate and deceive people.
All the disorders in Cluster B share traits like emotional intensity, impulsivity, and trouble maintaining healthy relationships, and ASPD is no different.
So, the symptoms and signs. There are clear signs of ASPD in people, which include
consistently breaking laws on social rules,
lying or manipulating others for personal gain,
acting impulsively without thinking ahead,
being aggressive or violent,
reckless disregard for their own safety or others,
being irresponsible with things like work or finances,
and perhaps most notably having no remorse or hurting others.
But to be diagnosed, someone has to be at least 18 years old and show signs of conduct disorder before 15.
The diagnosis processes. Diagnosing ASPD isn't just about taking a quiz or a checklist. It involves a detailed evaluation by a mental health professional who looks at the person's behavior, medical and legal history, and conducts interviews.
Since people with ASPD often deny problems or try to shift the blame, family members, school records, or criminal history might be used to get a full picture of the person's behavior.
Risk factors and causes. So the causes of ASPD are generally complicated and usually come from a mix of genetic, environmental, and brain-based factors.
An example of genetics would be if someone has a family member with ASPD or other mental health conditions, then they might be at a higher risk.
An example of a childhood environmental factor would be things like physical abuse, neglect, or inconsistent parenting can contribute.
But there's also early behavior problems like kids with conduct disorders or brain differences, which show abnormalities in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that controls judgment and impulse control.
There's also the factor of substance abuse because addiction often goes hand in hand with ASPD and can make symptoms worse.
Who does ASPD affect? ASPD tends to infect more men than women, and it's usually noticed in the late teen years or early adulthood. It can happen to anyone, but people who've experienced trauma, unstable families, or poverty are more at risk.
Impact on daily life. ASPD can really mess with daily life. The impulsivity and lack of concern for others often lead to problems with jobs, relationships, and the law. People with ASPD might also struggle with addiction, financial issues, and consistent conflict. Their lack of empathy and remorse makes it hard to maintain close relationships, often leading to social isolation.
Treatment and management. While there's no cure for ASPD, there are ways to manage it and help people live better lives. Here's what can help.
Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. This helps people recognize and change harmful thought and behavior patterns.
Anger management and impulse control training.
Medication, and while there's no specific drug for ASPD, antidepressants or mood stabilizers can help with aggression or impulsivity.
Long-term therapy and support systems. This can help people develop empathy, responsibility, and better coping skills.
And early intervention. If conduct disorder is caught early in children, it can make a huge difference in preventing ASPD later on.
So in conclusion, our key points on ASPD today were:
the DSM-5 is the guide that helps clinicians diagnose mental disorders. Personality disorders are long-lasting, inflexible patterns of thinking and behaving.
They're grouped into 3 clusters, and ASPD is part of Cluster B. ASPD is marked by impulsivity, manipulation, and a disregard for others' rights.
It's influenced by genetics, childhood environment, and brain function. While treatment is tough, therapy, medication, and early intervention can help people improve their quality of life.
Thank you for listening, and I hope this gave you a clearer picture on what ASPD is and how it fits into the DSM-5.